Well, good morning. Hi, my name is Teresa McCoy, and I'm a member of the volunteer engagement team for AARP Bruce News. Today, I'm really excited. We're speaking with two wonderful volunteers or members of AARP from Minnesota, Erin Parrish and Lonnie Duberstein. Stein. Is it Steve or Stein? Stein. Sorry, from Minnesota. Welcome to the show. And just tell us, how long have you been a volunteer at AARP?
I'll let you lead it. Oh, me? Okay. About 6 years. I actually started with a AARP as a member of the Retired Educators Association of Minnesota. And one of my duties then as president-elect was to be a liaison with AARP. And even though I'm not in that position anymore, I guess I'm still with them, thinking that it's a great place to be, and you get to work with people like Erin.
Erin, how about you?
So I've been with AARP for about 8 years now. And as Lonnie said, I got to know him through our relationship with retired educators. And of course, if you talk to me, I'm going to recruit you to come be part of AARP's advocacy team. So,
well, awesome. Now, how long and how did you guys get started? What made you come to AARP? Lonnie?
Well, like I said, it was actually a part of my job description.
Oh, okay.
The president-elect, and then and technically I could have left after a couple of years when I became president, but it truly is a wonderful organization. And one of the things that I've thought since day one is that I would like to have more time to be able to spend with AARP, but I have so many other things like the retired educators and my local retired educators group and Red Cross. And so it's frustrating sometimes when you get all of these different opportunities to be helped. Someone once said, and I'm not taking credit for it, but I heard that the little saying, volunteering is my sport. And that really is true, because when you volunteer, I guess you just feel good about doing something like that for the general public and people that can't speak for themselves or are hesitant to speak for themselves. And one of the things that about teachers is that particularly if you give them a microphone or an audience, they're ready to go, and you have to shut them up, really. And so sometimes you just have to cut me off and go like that, and I'll be quiet.
And how about you, Erin? How did you come to AARP?
So I had actually interacted and worked with AARP while I was in a different capacity. I was part of an organization that was working with AARP to pass legislation that would allow family members to have paid sick days in order to care for aging family members or children. As well as establishing a state-managed retirement program for individuals who didn't have a retirement savings vehicle in the workplace. So being able to work with AARP and interact with with the volunteers and advocates at the state capitol, it was like, this is I like the energy of this organization, and I was really truly moved by the passion of the volunteers at the capitol trying to advance legislation that wasn't just going to benefit them and older adults, but ultimately benefit everyone in the state.
Oh, awesome. So where are you located in Minnesota? Because it's a big state.
I am just north of St. Paul, which is very, very handy when Erin calls us to attend a committee meeting or an advocacy group team meeting. And so I can be at the Capitol in like 20 minutes. Which is very, very helpful. And it's, yeah.
And I'm in St. Paul, so we're both in the metro area, but AARP's advocacy team has volunteers throughout the state. Some, like Lonnie, are very close and can be at the Capitol within, an hour or so, but others are 7 hours away in northern Minnesota, but they're, keeping their boots on the ground there and contacting legislators when they're in their hometowns.
Awesome, awesome. So now we had heard about your project about developing volunteer kits. How did you come up with the idea for volunteer kits, and what started? How did this get started?
Yeah, I can talk about that a little bit. Before the pandemic took off and things went on lockdown and people had to stay home and really take precaution, AARP Minnesota's advocacy team would meet at the state capitol every Tuesday to advocate for the issues we were trying to get passed or to stop from getting passed. And they would, pop into different hearings to listen to the bills that were being discussed and track legislators down in the hallways and talk to them or drop notes off at offices. And it was such a great opportunity to have that visibility for AARP, but to have volunteers interacting with legislators on a regular basis. And when things went on lockdown and we were no longer able to be at the Capitol in person, it became more difficult to have that direct line of communication with legislators and with each other. And so at the same time, it was critical for our advocates to be in contact with legislators because older adults were disproportionately impacted and facing social isolation in their communities and in long-term care facilities. So we needed to still be there and have that visibility and that contact. So one of the things we thought of is, we'd have volunteers come into the state office to pick up various materials that could support them in that role, including note cards and kind of all of the fact sheets and talking points and supporting materials. And so it was like, why don't we just collect all these necessary tools and materials that they just intermittently pop in or we bring to the Capitol for them and just send it directly to them in a kit. They have that toolkit there so that every week, if they're in a committee hearing, they can take notes and have kind of the list of procedures for legislators and the contact information, and they can just be writing notes and popping those notes right in the mail.
So how long did it take you to come up with develop the kit?
Honestly, not much time at all.
No?
I'd say about a week. We had a majority of the materials already available because they were things that were already being given to volunteers or that volunteers had access to in the state office. And so we did talk to a few volunteers. We surveyed volunteers like Lonnie, to say what materials are important to you and support you best in doing this work. Popped them all into some big red boxes, put a couple treats and fun things in there too, and sent them off.
So what exactly is in the kit?
Yeah. I can talk about that unless Lonnie, you wanted to cover a little bit of that?
Yeah.
You're on a roll, but as you hit something, I might put it up in front of the camera.
Okay.
I have a couple of those things that you're going to mention.
Awesome. I love show and tell.
Yeah.
So we've done the kits for 2 years now, but this year the kits included AARP branded note cards and envelopes, stamps. So they could, again, just pop that on and send it right in the mail, and an AARP pen for writing and sending letters to legislators. There we go. It also included Minnesota State Legislative Manual, which includes information on legislative processes, key terms, how legislation's drafted.
Mm-hmm.
My camera isn't working, but
there you go, right there. Right, just a little bit better.
You can tell I'm really experienced at this.
Oh, that's okay. But I think we got it.
I might say the legislative manual, my camera keeps popping in and out, but the legislative manual is, it's unbelievable. It's like, it's over 50 pages and it has so much information in here. Everything from where to park in the area and the roads that lead to the Capitol, the tunnel system. We have several different administrative buildings for the state, and the tunnel system is I mean, that's one of my favorite things there when we go, because you can get lost in the tunnels, and it has a map of that. But I think probably one of the handiest things is the multi-page glossary, just defining all of the different terms and jargonese of the legislative process, because it's like a foreign language, really. And so the legislative glossary really does help. And it talks about online resources and the kind of the very complicated, convoluted sometimes legislative process of going from an idea or a thought into a proposal, into a bill, and then an act, and so it really it's kind of intimidating, actually, I think, for most people, and me still. I think I have a fairly decent grasp on it. But one of the things that really helps is that legislative manual, and so it's very cool. Another thing that's very helpful, and I wish my camera would kind of, look at that, I'm holding it right at my head, and why am I in focus and not the page? But anyway, the legislative priorities are on a page. Our Minnesota staff is incredible with putting out kind of summaries or synopsis of the different issues and priorities that AARP is backing. And in a nutshell, then it explains what's going on. And then we can take that, put it into our own words when we're talking to a legislator or writing a note, and it makes it very clear and understandable.
So we included all of those, multiple copies of the priority sheets and fact sheets, so that volunteers could include those and send those to legislators. We had a directory of all the Minnesota House and Senate members, so they had easy contact information. We included a letter from the AARP team with an outline of expectations for the session and how volunteers can engage virtually. We also included some tips to access the volunteer portal. A couple tip sheets on that, which I'm still learning how to navigate it myself, so those tip sheets are key. And then this year, we included a coffee mug and hot chocolate for volunteers to enjoy while watching the virtual committee hearings.
Love the mug. Perfect shot.
And necessary during the hot chocolate is necessary during our legislative session because it starts when it's the coldest time of the year.
Right. So now, when putting all this together, how did you get it all together to ship it out? Did you do it in-house? Did you send it to someone else? How did you do it?
So we actually did hire an outside vendor who all of the materials were sent directly to them, and then they compiled it into the boxes and shipped them out from there.
And Lonnie, how did you feel when you received that box?
Well, I have to say that wasn't the first one. AARP Minnesota is they're kind of known for sending out little goodies now and then, and so it wasn't the first. I wasn't surprised, but this was probably the most comprehensive of anything that was sent out because it covered so many different things. She forgot to mention the AARP pen. I've got that here too. You know,
the pen. Yes.
Yeah, the AARP pen. It kind of gets lost in my T-shirt, doesn't it? So the color is a good match, but I guess what it does is the bottom line. It makes you as a volunteer feel important and special that they take the time to put stuff like this together and want to send it out to you to help you in your job as an advocate. The staff, I have been a big fan of AARP since the first day I went to them because they are incredible. One of the things that I did early on was testify at I can't remember even now if it was a Senate committee hearing or a House committee hearing, but it was on the high cost of prescription drugs and it was kind of a combination, but my sister has a situation with my mom. My mom is 92 now, and so I had a story to tell. I had a testimony that I could share, and being brand new to the idea of going into the Capitol and telling my story at a committee hearing, that was intimidating, really, even for a teacher that's kind of used to being in front of a group. And I remember very clearly talking with Erin, and I guess she noticed my hesitancy, and because she said, well, I'll help you with that. So I drafted a letter first and I sent it to her, and she gave me some ideas on what to say and how to clean it up. And it wasn't just that one time, but whether it's Erin or Mary Jo or Jay or Patty, all of them, their job is to help you succeed in what you're doing as a volunteer. And I guess their helpfulness, their commitment and their dedication to the job and making sure that you are successful as a volunteer, it's beyond reproach, because if you are unsure of something, they'll help you. I remember in writing an editorial for a newspaper, I kind of went through that process too, sent it into to someone at the office and got ideas, and they're the experts. They've been through umpteen committee meetings and have read umpteen editorials to the newspaper, and so they have a much better perception on kind of what works,
Right.
because you can really blow it if you send something publicly, and so they're in our training sessions. I remember, we'll have 15, 20 people sitting around a huge long table at the Capitol room, and they're going through, and every single one of them, they remind you of the AARP rules. We're nonpartisan. We don't support or contribute to any candidate or political party, or we are about the issues.
Right.
And so ingrained as that should be, I know the reason they do that, because invariably there is a new volunteer sitting at that table, or two or three, and they need to hear that. And so that kind of continual training and dedication to the cause is, I guess I can't speak highly enough about our Minnesota group. They're super.
Great. So would you say that the kits have been very successful and well received?
Yes. Yeah. I think so. Well, like I said, it isn't the first, so it really wasn't a surprise, which is kind of nice. They're not just kind of giving you a gift and hanging you on, through that, but they continually do that, as far as like a little an AARP bag that comes, or an AARP T-shirt or hat or something like that, and I guess on YouTube they call it merch now, don't they? So they send, so they send out merch to the volunteers, and
you feel happy when you get that.
Oh, yeah.
Excited to get something like little surprise kit.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice.
It's unexpected, and it's just kind of nice. I wear my I have several different AARP shirts with different messages on, because sometimes we gather at the Capitol, and that's one of the things that I really enjoy is our gatherings there in the Capitol Rotunda, when you get a lot of red T-shirts and signs made, and we're trying to basically do democracy.
So strength and so strength and the power in numbers. Yes. So, Erin, how successful are they? Have they been increasing volunteers in your market?
Yes. So as Lonnie said, this isn't the first one we sent. We did send one in 2020. And that actually, we saw several lapsed volunteers. So volunteers who we hadn't heard from in quite some time, or volunteers who were still in our list but maybe had dropped off. We saw several of them re-engage with us and send a thank you note and say, I really want to be more involved and I just haven't been able to, but this is really helpful. I have everything I need right here and feel like I can engage again. And additionally, I would say that new volunteers who join during the pandemic where we weren't meeting in person, had expressed feeling welcome and part of the team after receiving the kit.
Oh, nice. So you had mentioned, Lonnie mentioned that he had received several. How long have you been sending these out as a group, Erin? I mean, how did you get started with this? How long has it been going on? And it seems to really work in keeping the volunteers engaged.
Yeah, so for the advocacy kits, this is the second year we've sent an actual kit, but we have sent through, like, I believe our Fraud Watch network has sent some similar things out. We've sent some welcome orientation kits to new volunteers. And then occasionally throughout the year, we love our volunteers, and we like to show the appreciation for the important work that they're doing on behalf of older adults. So we will send tokens of appreciation throughout the year. I would say for the advocacy kits, even though we are meeting in person again, and next year we'll be able to be back at the Capitol in person, you know, we do have volunteers who aren't quite ready to get back to meeting in person. We also have volunteers, as I mentioned earlier, who live 7 hours away. So just having down for a committee hearing is not ideal for them. But throughout the time that we've not been meeting in person, they've been able to engage at a level they haven't been able to before, virtually, and by having those kids in their homes. So this is definitely something we're going to continue doing, regardless if we're at the Capitol in person or not, because we know everybody engages at a different level, or doesn't have the same access. So this is just a great way to make sure that everyone has the same tools within reach.
Nice. Now, when you refresh them, what all do you do to keep the kits, fresh and new to all the volunteers to receive something?
Yeah, well, the priorities and the issues are always changing. So we're always having to update those sheets, the priority sheet that Lonnie had showed, as well as fact sheets. There's an election this year, so we're going to have a whole slate of new legislators next year. So we'll have to refresh with the member directory, the legislator member directory. If there's any constitutional law changes, that manual that Lonnie had showed and talked about, that's going to need to be updated. And of course, the fun thing that we throw in, so it was a coffee mug and hot chocolate this year. The first year, it was a handy cell phone stand, so you could watch committee hearings on the go. And so we're always trying to kind of think of, what would volunteers appreciate while they are watching these committee hearings or writing letters, what would be helpful, and just kind of make that letter writing a little bit more fun.
Right. Lonnie, do you find all these things useful, helpful? You're excited when you get them? We asked this earlier, but the cell phone stand, I like
that. I actually don't use it, just because my cell phone has a kind of a bigger case to it, and it doesn't necessarily fit, but but it was still nice to receive. But I don't personally use that particular gift. But so,
right. So
I have to be honest.
Oh, that's fine. We all get little surprises, and some things that we like. It's just like some things is like, whoa, I can use that. Some things like, well, I can't really work with that, but I like it. Yeah, so I totally get it. It's always exciting to get gifts.
Yeah, we got popcorn one time. Popcorn is good.
See, there you go. Popcorn is good. I like that. So it's a surprise in every little kid. Mm-hmm. So how often do you send them out, Erin?
So for the advocacy kits, it's been yearly. So once a year. I believe we did send some packages during the last presidential election that had some similar materials, but more geared toward questions to ask candidates and handouts for candidates. And I believe that was the popcorn kit, because we were encouraging volunteers to enjoy the popcorn while watching debates.
I love it. I
They're
love it.
clever, they're clever with words that way, and messages, because they're all about messaging, right?
Right, yes.
It's been very successful.
Yep.
Yeah. So would you suggest this to other groups within the AARP?
Lonnie, I'll let you take that one.
Okay, well, absolutely, because I think what's not to like about it? I don't really see any downside or negative. The only downside or negative would be I guess the cost of doing that, because they're well received, and they certainly send a message and have a purpose, and so I think they're a great idea.
Great. So what suggestions and advice would you give the other AAR groups that are trying to engage volunteers in their work?
Oh, I've got that one.
Okay.
I would say in the kit, send dog treats.
Oh, fur babies.
Yeah.
So, and I'll add on to that, because what I would say is ask the volunteers what would be helpful to them and what tools and resources they need. Get the feedback on what works and what doesn't work, and you can bet we will be including dog treats next time. But I would say some of our best successes here in the office have started with a suggestion to volunteer. And making sure that we're asking them, what do you need in order to best do your job? Or frankly, what would you just enjoy?
Right. You guys have been awesome. I mean, it's what you're doing is fantastic. I think we're getting a chance to really learn and do something and improve our relationships among other groups of AARP volunteers to really keep them engaged. That concludes our segment for today. I want to thank Erin and Lonnie from AARP Minnesota for coming out to speak with us. Thanks for watching, and remember, keep engaged. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.